All right, so as you take a look at these notes, you're probably realizing pretty quickly that these don't line up with the notes that I gave you in class today. And that is accurate, okay? I goofed up. I actually gave you the wrong notes today in class. And so if you go back to my Moodle site and you go to our class notes, you'll notice there's a factor by grouping notes. That's what this lines up with. So you can hang on to the 9.6 notes. We will be working on those. That'll be the next video. This factor by grouping is going to be before that, obviously. So real quick, there are, what have I got here? I got 7 review problems there. An example 1 for you to take a look at. I'm going to do a couple of these because, again, I started grading your quizzes and I realized that there were some mistakes. So, again, in number 1 here, you are very simply adding these two expressions. So you combine like terms. Okay. In other words, I see a c cubed. I don't see any other one, so I know c cubed stays by itself. I see a c squared. I see no other c squareds, so I have plus c squared. And then I start looking at all the other ones with the same variables. Negative 4c, negative 5c. That's negative 9c. Positive 8, negative 3, positive 5. That would be the sum. Some of you were doing some very weird things on your quiz, like distributing and stuff like that. All you're doing is combining like terms. All right. As a matter of fact, that's the only one I want to go over right now. But do work through A through H on your own this weekend. We will come in. I will expect you to have those done. And again, as I indicated in class, if I need to, I'll start collecting these notes just to verify that you're working through them. So this is your homework. So A through H are expected to be done on Monday when you walk in the door. Okay. Now we're going to jump right into this idea of factor by grouping. Okay, and we're going to kind of ease our way into this. And so this is what this does is it really provides us a method for factoring more complex polynomials. Okay, so as of right now, you should know how to factor. I'm going to write on the board here. You should know how to factor x squared plus 5x plus, let's see here, plus 6. Okay, remember, two numbers that multiply to get positive 6, add to get positive 5, 3 and 2. Okay, and you can factor that. Now, if I throw let's just say I were to throw a 3 in front of that x squared, that complicates things tremendously. Okay, and so factoring by grouping is going to allow us to factor expressions or polynomials that are a little bit more complicated. All right, and so this is an idea that's probably going to take you a day or two to really get a hold of, and that's why we're going to spend at least 2 days, maybe 3 days on this lesson. Okay, so if you look at part A and you notice, first of all, there's an imaginary 1 here out in front, right? If you don't see anything, you can always assume there's a 1 there. Okay, and the second thing you'll notice is that this is x minus 6 and that is also x minus 6. And so what you can do here, we can break this down one more step. You can keep this term, okay, I'm not sure why, there we go. You can keep this term common. So in other words, when you factor this, you're going to have x minus 6. And then what you do is you take the two coefficients. You take x and you take positive 1, and that will be your second factor, x plus 1. All right, and that would be the factored form here. All right, and again, you could go through and double check by foiling out and seeing what you get. But long story short, that's what factoring by grouping is: breaking it up to where you have a common term in both, or common term in both parts, and then you can break it down into the product of two binomials. Okay, so in other words, again, common term a plus 4, good news, that stays. And then again, I look at the guys out in front. I have an a and I have a negative 2. Okay, so my second term will be a minus 2. Okay, the trick is these two guys have to be identical. Okay, it can't be a plus 4 and a minus 4, got to be the same. Okay, so part C here, same idea. Okay, they have to be the same. Fortunately for us, they are. K plus 7, K plus 7. So when I factor this down, I'm going to have 2k squared minus 3. And my second one is going to be the k plus 7. All right. And so that's what we're looking at there when we factor by grouping. The next set of examples is more like what you'll see in class tomorrow, where we have to do a little bit of legwork. Okay, in other words, you'll notice I have 4 terms here. Okay, this is what it means to factor by grouping. You group these two terms together, and you group these two terms together. Okay, and then what you do is you factor them individually. So in other words, we're right back to what we were doing in section 9.4, where I look at this term and I take the greatest common factor out. Okay, look at the coefficients. You have a 1 and a 3. You can't pull anything out there. Then you look at the variables, a squared and a cubed. I can bring an a squared out in front. When I do that, I'm left with a plus 3 inside. And then I look at my second term. I look at both terms. I can pull a 4 out, and I'm left with a plus 3 inside. Good news, a plus 3 and a plus 3 are the same. Therefore, I can factor this even more to a plus 3, and then I look at the guys out in front, a squared and positive 4. All right, and so that would be my factored form of that expression. All right, and again, you could double check by foiling it out, but it's going to work. Okay, and again, at this point, I would probably pause it and see if you got this. And there's 2 more examples. I'll work through them both because it's a pretty short lesson here, and then we'll go from there. So again, group them together. My suggestion: change everything to plus and negative. It'll make your life a little bit easier to see, okay, or easier to work with. So group, group. Okay, that's a plus sign in the middle. Let me rewrite that in red so that we don't forget that. Okay, and so I look at those first 2 terms, x cubed, 2x squared, negative 2x squared. So I can pull an x squared out in front. I'm left with x plus negative 2. You could rewrite this as x minus 2 at that point. Okay, so x minus 2 plus, and then I look at negative 3x and positive 6. Okay, and again, I got to get the thing inside to be the same. So some of you are probably saying, well, I can pull a 3 out. Okay, if I pull a 3 out, you're left with negative x plus 2. You'll notice these guys right now are not the same. Okay, but I know that if I want to make this term a positive x, I can just pull a negative out in front. So if I put a negative in front of the 3, well, then what that does is it's going to change the things inside. It's going to be a positive x, and it's going to be a negative 2. And now you'll notice now I have the same thing. So now I'm good to go. We're right back to square one. X minus 2. X minus 2 and x squared minus 3. Okay, and that's what we end up with there. And finally, the last example, and again, we're going to do plenty of these in class tomorrow, so if you're still not sure, do the best you can, rewatch the video a little bit, try to learn it, and we'll take any questions you have in class. So again, I would change it to plus and negative personally for your sake to make your life easier. So then group. All right, and I go through here. I look at these first 2 terms. I can pull a 3x out in front, so I'm left with x plus 4. And if I look at these 2 terms, I have plus. I can pull just the y out in front. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pull a negative y out in front. Okay, so I pull a negative y out in front, and I'm left with x plus 4. All right, that's the same as that. Good news. So I can break this down even further. I can do 3x minus y times x plus 4. Okay, so again, this factor by grouping is really what section 9.6 is all about. We're going to kind of ease our way into it. So this lesson is as basic as it gets, and then we'll move into some more complex examples in the next video. Okay, so again, any questions you have them ready to go in class tomorrow, and we'll take those right at the beginning of the hour.